and welcome to Sunday morning book chat. Just housekeeping, I think I'm going to retitle this to book chat. That way I'm not limited to uploading these videos on a Sunday because sometimes I'm busy and I can't get them up on a Sunday. So I think I'm going to call it to book chat from now on. I don't know. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to mention to you guys, if you follow my blog, or you don't, or maybe you do, I am doing a reading challenge in 2017, and I'm calling it the Totally Doable 2017 Reading Books Like a Boss Reading Challenge. There are 12 reading prompts or categories, so 12 books that you will have to read in order to complete the challenge. And in the blog post where I talk about the challenge, there's a graphic and a printable, so you can print off the printable and write in your book, and then post about it on social media if you want to. And I have a hashtag that you can use, a hashtag 2017 RBLB Reading Challenge. So tag your posts if you want to. There really are no rules. If you don't read a lot, like if you aren't a voracious reader like myself, I read more than 70 books a year usually, and you only read a few, this is great for you. That was kind of my intention behind creating this challenge, is that I wanted it to be something that was completely doable for someone who either reads a lot or maybe just reads a little. A lot of people have had asked me if audiobooks count, and yes they do. I haven't gotten this question, but I might get this question. If you find a book that fits more than one category, can you count it for both of them? Sure, I don't care. I'm personally going to try to find 12 different books to fit under each one. But if you find a book that has a woman on the cover and it has red on it, and that would fit 2 of my categories, you can go for it. It's whatever you want it to be. I want this to be something doable so that you guys complete the challenge. So I'm really super excited about it. I've always wanted to do a challenge like this, but some of them have been a little overwhelming for me, and so I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to complete that, but I feel like this one is doable. And the other thing that I wanted to do with this one is, or goal that I wanted to meet, is that a lot of the readers that follow my blog, or at least maybe started to follow my blog back in the beginning, is people who read primarily romance. And I think some of the categories or prompts or whatever in this challenge will force you to read something that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise read, and you might discover some new genres that you like. So I'm excited. Can I say I'm excited like 12 more times? So anyway, there's that, the reading challenge. And then another blog related thing, I'm starting to go in my upcoming releases page and add little synopses. So if you ever go on there, you'll see that each month is broken down, and either you can view it by cover or you can view it by like text. And in the text area, I'm starting to add like little synopses next to each one, and I'm doing that mostly for myself because I forget between the time when I might read the synopsis when I add it to my spreadsheet and when the book actually comes out, I will forget what the book is about, or I'll forget what even genre it is. So this will help me, and if you guys visit the page, it'll help you kind of go through, and you can be like, oh, well, this is a thriller. Oh, this is YA. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys a heads up. I've only gotten January and February done right now. So hopefully by the end of my holiday vacation here, I will have the rest of them done. But there are so many 2017 books that I am genuinely stoked about reading. I've actually already read a couple of them, and I've talked about them. The Everything You Want Me to Be by Mindy Mejia comes out in January. Really good thriller. And I Love You, Subject to the Following Terms and Conditions by Erin Lyon. That is a kind of romantic comedy with a twist. So really enjoyed both of those. Check those out. I think, and the I Love You, Subject to the Following Terms and Conditions, it does come out in January too. And then the last thing that I wanted to last couple of things is my favorite books of 2016, and then my book disappointments, because balance, right? Can you tell I'm trying to get this video done because I have to leave in like 20 minutes. I'm sorry. But I broke them down into categories because I think that's fun, and I have several. Let's see, I don't even know how many I have, but several. The first one is my favorite cute romance, and that goes to, and it should be no surprise, Can I See You Again by Allison Morgan. It is a kind of romantic comedy, sweet romance, and it's about this girl, Bree. She's a matchmaker, and Bree is her first book is getting ready to come out. And as part of the marketing plan for the publisher to release her book, they want to do this interview series with this very prominent interviewer to try to gain some publicity and everything. And one of the things they want to interview her about is her own love life, because her work is trying to find love for other people, and she has a relationship of her own. So she's all excited and all stoked, and then her boyfriend breaks up with her. And so then Bree has to basically convince her one matchmaking failure, the guy that she cannot find anybody to date, she has to convince him to pose as her fake boyfriend. And it's really funny, and of course, like, he's like, oh my god, are you serious? And then, like, hilarity ensues, and of course, they like each other. But lots of things happen, and there's a reason why she wants her book to be successful. It's not just like personal, like she wants to make money. There's a reason in the book why she needs the money in order to help someone very important in her life. So it was just really cute. I remember finishing it and I was literally like, oh, like all happy, because it was just so cute. And plus the cover is really cute. I don't even know if I have it over here somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. It's right here. It's really cute. I mean, and the cover holds significance too. It's one of those books where you see the cover and you're like, oh, the cover, that's where that comes from. So it's really, really cute. My favorite creepy read of the year is a book that I'll just tell you what it is. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I've talked about this a lot too, but it's a book that I wouldn't recommend to like every reader. You know, if you like unconventional books that will make you think, and books that have, I don't know, makes you ask a lot of kind of uncomfortable questions to yourself, and like, it's very philosophical. If you like things like that, then I would recommend this book to you. But it is very different. Like, it's a very different book. It's a very short book, but it packs a punch. It's very well written, like very, very well written. But the premise of the book is that this girl, who we don't really ever learn her name, but she's the girlfriend, and it's narrated by her, and she and her boyfriend Jake, they're driving to his parents' house. She's getting ready to meet his parents for the first time. They're dating, and they've been dating for like 3 weeks. And on the way in the car, she begins to really kind of look at their relationship and look at him and kind of have doubts about wanting to stay in this relationship. And it is something else. Like, it is unsettling. When I was reading it, I was like really anxious and like really nervous. Like, I just had this feeling of dread. And I think that the author just did a really fantastic job of just bringing that, like, oh my god, like, I was like, literally, I had like anxiety reading that book. It made me really uncomfortable. So my friend who read it, she did not have the same reading experience as I did, but she still liked it. It was one of those books, we talked about it, like, I recommended it to her. She read it, and, you know, we both agreed there were things in it that, you know, like plot holes and such, but it lent itself to so much discussion because there's so many of these big questions that it asks. So if any of you guys end up reading it, I would love to talk about it. I've talked about it with a few of you, but I would love to talk more about it. So if you read it, you should totally PM me or something. And then my favorite YA historical that I read this year is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. And this was very widely, like, everyone who read it was just pretty much felt the same way. It's just such a beautiful book, but it's set during World War II, and it's narrated by, I think, five different people. I can't remember exactly, but several people of different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different places in their life during World War II, and during it's the Soviet advance in Prussia. And so they are trying to escape the Russians, or the Soviets, basically, who are going around and like killing people and killing entire families. And the whole book is leading up to this disaster at sea, and it's an actual disaster that's actually happened, and it's something apparently that in history it's not a very widely talked about thing. So it's very emotional. Like the characters, I felt them. It was just so real. I mean, it was a real event, but they felt so real, and I've cared so much, and it was just very good, very emotional. So I highly recommend that you guys read that if you like YA and if you like reading like more historical YA. I loved this book, and I listened to it on audio too, and it was amazing. It was really good on audio. My favorite sexy romance, I would say it would be Beautiful by Christina Lauren, and also I really enjoyed Monsters, A Love Story by Liz Kay. So I've talked about Beautiful, I think in a recent video, but if you guys haven't read the Beautiful Bastard series, this is the 5th book in the series, and I struggled with the number in the last video too, but I believe it's the 5th book, and it's Jensen and Pippa's story, and Jensen is Hannah's brother, Pippa is Ruby's friend, and they are going on a winery tour across New England with Hannah and Will and Ruby and Niall, and of course then you have these two single people that are, you know, inevitably put together, and for reasons that you will find out in the book, they have to kind of like play house, and it's funny, it's cute, it's sexy, and I just thought it was really fun. It was a really fun book, and I thought it was a really good send-off for the entire series. Sometimes series enders like that, where they have several different couples, it can be kind of like stale by the end, but I felt like this book was really good and really fun, and it was really cute. And then Monsters, A Love Story, it's kind of like a women's fiction-y with romance. It is about this woman named Stacy. She is a novelist, and she's a mother of two little boys. Her husband had passed away suddenly, like a year before the book started, and her book came out, was widely successful, and it's a novel in verse, and it's called Monsters in the Afterlife. Her book was really successful. The movie rights sold, and one of the person that bought the movie rights was Tommy DeMarco, and he's this famous actor, and she ends up working with him on the movie to try to get the script going and get everything going for the filming, and of course they start having this sexual relationship, and the book is told over the course of 2.5 years, I believe, 2.5 years or so, and they're both super stubborn. I did find the characters to be a little bit frustrating, but I have listened to this book on audio because that's how I read it originally, and it's just really entertaining. It's one of those audio books that you can just listen to over and over again. I start it at different points just to listen to it because it's just really fun, but I just found the story to be really entertaining, albeit a frustrating one at times, which is why I didn't give it a higher rating than what I did, but I found it to be, like I said, highly entertaining, really good, and I would recommend it to you guys. It's kind of like a Hollywood normal romance, but it's not like woman falls for a Hollywood heartthrob, like the cliched version of what you would think that is. It's more than that, and so I enjoyed it. You should read it. Or maybe if that doesn't sound good to you, then you don't have to read it. I don't care. But my favorite mystery of the year, and this should be no surprise too, is All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda, and that is a very unique reading experience. It's about a woman, and she is a teacher, and she's engaged to this lawyer guy, and she's super happy, and she ends up getting a call from her brother, and he's like, listen, you got to come back to your hometown. We got to wrap up the house here. Her dad is in a nursing home. I think he had like vascular dementia or some kind of dementia, and so he doesn't stay at home anymore, and the house is just kind of sitting there. And so her brother, who still lives there, was like, let's work together and get this house ready to sell. Well, you get the impression very early on that she doesn't like going back to her hometown. She only goes back there once in a gray moon. Holds a lot of memories, and the memories is something that you will learn, but the gist of it, the short version is that a girl went missing. Her best friend in high school went missing, and they never really figured out what happened to her, and she doesn't like going back to the town. And so she goes back and is getting the house ready. She leaves her fiance basically from where they live. I can't remember where she lives, what city it is, but she goes back, and her former flame, boyfriend, whatever, he is dating this girl. I guess the backstory is that she and him always end up getting together in some way whenever she goes back to town. But anyway, he's dating this girl, and the next day this girl is missing. She's gone. And at that point, the story fast forwards to day 15 of this missing persons investigation, and the story is told in reverse. So it's very interesting, and it has lots of twists, and I just couldn't stop reading. It was really, really good. My favorite thriller, I would say, hands down, I Let You Go by Claire Mackintosh. It is a British thriller, and it's the story surrounding this hit and run accident and the woman who is emotionally distraught over this. The entire hit and run investigation. I don't really want to say too much of that other than that. It has some twists and turns, and that's all I'm going to say. I thought it was really, really good. And I also listened to this on audio, and the audio is fantastic too. So highly recommend that, both of the book and the audiobook. But that is by far a favorite of 2016, and I would read that again. I've already read it twice. It's really good. Okay. The best unintentional humorous book that's not a funny book, I would say. And also, this also wins the award for my favorite audiobook of the year. And then goes to You by Carolyn Kepnes. Oh my gosh. Joe, I mean, I'm so late on the game with reading this book, but Joe has got to be one of the most entertaining characters I have ever read. He has my brand of humor. It's like this dry sense of humor, and he's so freaking smart. You can tell he's very smart, but I just loved his humor and his timing and the things that went on in his head. I mean, he's Looney Toony. He's one of those people that you're like, I want to watch you from a distance, but I don't want to actually be your friend because you would kill me. Like, he's one of those types of people. And if you don't know what the book is about, he's a sociopath. I don't know, psychopath, I don't know which one. He's crazy. He works in a bookstore, and this girl walks in, and he sees her, and he's like, that's the person I'm gonna fall in love with. I just know it. And so he like looks at her credit card, looks at her name, and like starts stalking her on social media, finds out where she lives, and in order to break into her house, she calls the gas company and reports a leak, or he calls the gas company and reports a leak. And it was hilarious. Like, the narrator on the audiobook, Santino Fantana, yeah, he is fantastic, hilarious, great comedic timing, and I just couldn't stop laughing listening to this freaking book. Like, it was so funny. But also very disturbing. It makes you like think twice before you post anything on social media ever. But it was really freaking good. And then my favorite women's fiction novel of the year goes to Results May Vary by Bethany Chase. So many of my friends that read this book loved it too, and it's so good. Like, it's so well written and so emotional, and I just thought it was a really great story and a great like emotional arc for this character. But it's about a woman, and she's married to this I think his name was Adam. I can't remember. I think it's Adam. And she's married to him, and they have this really happy marriage, or so she thought. And after 10 years, she finds out in a very horrible way that he was cheating on her, but he was cheating on her with another man. And so there's kind of this other layer of, you know, him hiding his sexuality from her, and it's just very sad and on both sides. It's just really good. So I highly recommend that you guys read that. I'm forgetting one. Other favorite YA of the year, because I feel like I need to mention this. Two favorite YAs. Hold on. Okay, I am just all over the place. So my favorite like emotional YA book, because I sobbed reading this book, was Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock by Matthew Quick. And this book didn't come out this year, but it was, oh my gosh, like, Leonard, I will never forget his character. I completely understood him. I just wanted to give him a hug. I felt like so many things, and I don't want to give anything away. But essentially the book is about this boy, and he wakes up and he decides that I'm going to kill myself, but I'm going to kill my best friend first, and then I'm going to end it all for me. And you find out like why he feels that way, but he tells his story with this great humor, but also this great sadness, and so there's this kind of mix. And plus, the thing that kills me in that book, aside from the subject matter and just him, is that there's like these letters from the future, and I just can't. Like, I'm gonna get emotional just thinking about it, but it's a really fantastic book, and I don't know what I'm doing with my hand here. But anyway, it was really good. And then the other YA book, and I'd say this was like one of the most memorable books I've read this year, and that's Whisper to Me by Nick Lake. It's about a girl who is writing a letter to the boy whose heart she broke. So the whole book is written in a way where it's like a love letter, like a letter of apology and a letter of like explanation. It's like, hey, this is what happened. It's so freaking good. Like, it's part love story, part mystery, part thriller. It has a lot of elements of like about mental illness too. So highly recommend that one. I think that will complete my favorite books of 2016. And then of course, there's the good, and then there's the disappointments, and I have a few of those. The first book, I think one of the first books I read this year, which was F Love by Tarryn Fisher. I love Mudvayne, and I love Her Love Me With Lies, but F Love did not work for me. It was supposed to be like her return to writing romance or writing, a Tarryn Fisher romance, and it just did not work for me. You guys can read my review and it will go into all of that. But there were some beautiful like textual moments. She's a good writer. But anyway, second one that I read, the second book, I think it was in the same month, was Feverborn by Karen Marie Moning. Also majorly disappointing. The big thing that bothered me was that there was something that she did in Feverborn that completely like turned the first 5 books on its head. Like the whole reason why the first 5 had even happened was because of this thing, and she made that thing false in this book, and I don't really know why. I don't know where she's going with it. I still will read Fever Song. I'm curious to see how it ends. But Feverborn, I personally was disappointed. I don't know if anybody else felt that same way. And then the last epic disappointment, majorly disappointed, I'm still so sad, was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I loved Six of Crows. Like, I remember reading that book thinking, yes, this is so fantastic. And then when I read Crooked Kingdom, I was like, no! I was bored, and then I was like, what in the hell is going on? Because at one point, just get this imagery. One of the characters discovers that she has this magical power of bringing people back from the dead. So we have Inej on a tightrope, and she's like trying to fight this person, and she loses her footing, and then apparently, and this is what we're supposed to believe happened, in like a split second, this person brings all of these dead people back to life that are like lying in a pile over here, and brings them back to life, and they wake up and they rush over, grab a tarp, and they save Inej from falling all these dead people, like zombie people, are like holding this tarp. And I'm just like, every time I think about that scene, it like the imagery of them like running and rushing, I'm just like, are you joking me? Like, ugh. I was let down. I know that everybody else was like, this was the best book ever, but I was super duper sad. I just was super sad that I didn't like that book, because I freaking loved Six of Crows. I would still recommend it though. That's kind of like, like Delirium, that series. I was let down by the last 2 books in that series. Although I didn't hate the last book, like with the Fire of a Thousand Suns, like some people. I didn't like it, but I wasn't like, this is the worst. But Delirium, I would still recommend, even though the last 2 books in the trilogy were disappointing. Delirium, if you haven't read that series, read Delirium and just make up your own, like, ending to that series in your head. Anywho, I would like to know what your favorite books of 2016 are. I would also like to know what you're reading, and I want to know if you have any epic disappointments of 2016. And my next video, which I don't know when that's going to be up, but I'm going to talk about some of the 2017 releases that I'm super stoked about. Like, I'm serious, there are so many that I'm already like, wow, I can't wait to read it. So anyway, I'm going to go to the symphony now. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.